I've reviewed the Epstein files that were produced by Donald Trump's Department of Justice last Friday multiple times. I want to utilize this video to discuss with you all of the references from those Epstein files regarding Vladimir Putin, Russia, Russian oligarchs, and the connections that those references have with the first Trump administration and the current Trump regime. I do not want to be conspiratorial. I just want to go over with you what's contained in the emails, the text messages, and the reports, and you can decide for yourself. As a reminder, last Friday, over 3 million documents from the Epstein files were produced by Donald Trump's Department of Justice. But that was only a partial production. There are at least 3 million documents that have not been produced by Donald Trump's Department of Justice, and that may equate to 25 million to 50 million pages within those documents that have not been produced. And my belief, based on my experience as a litigator in the past, is that those documents are far more devastating than what has been produced. But there have been bombshells in what has been produced. And as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein's connections with Vladimir Putin, Epstein is referenced as Vladimir Putin's money manager in FBI reports from confidential informants. There are emails between Jeffrey Epstein and world leaders, like the former Prime Minister of Norway, the former Prime Minister of Israel, and other world leaders referencing meetings between Epstein and Putin. There are numerous references to Epstein meeting with other Russian oligarchs. And I just want to go through with you what is stated in these emails, and you can judge for yourself. The very first reference that I've seen in the Epstein files regarding Epstein and Putin is this email right here from November 8th, 2010. It's an email from Jeffrey Epstein to another email account that says, "Do I need to get a visa? I have a friend of Putin's. Should I ask him?" And then there is this reference right here, May 21st, 2013, from Jeffrey Epstein to Ehud Barak. Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Israel, who was a former defense minister of Israel, who is a top business leader in Israel connected to the defense industry there. And here's what Jeffrey Epstein said on May 21st, 2013. Epstein writes, "Putin asked that I meet with him in St. Petersburg the same time as his economic conference. I told him no. If he wants to meet, he will need to set aside real time and privacy. Let's see what happens." Now, there are numerous photos of Epstein in Russia wearing Russia paraphernalia, him and Ghislaine Maxwell wearing Russian gear together. We see those in the files. But then you had this email right here, September 11th, 2011, and this is from an unidentified account to Jeffrey Epstein. It's referencing someone named Igor, and Igor who has close connections with Putin. And here's what this person said to Jeffrey Epstein. "Spoke with Igor. He said last time you were in Palm Beach, you told him you had an appointment with Putin on September 16th and that he could go ahead and book his ticket to Russia to arrive a few days before you. He also looked into security in Sochi for you. He said regardless, he will still need to go to Russia tomorrow to sort out his Russian passport, which expires the end of September. So he will still fly back to New York on the 19th. He will be happy to go back to Russia with you on September 26th if you go." And then the Epstein files that were released contain this message from Epstein to an individual whose name is redacted. The subject is, "He was passed away." And as Dominic Trippi explains, newly released Epstein documents reveal communications concerning the suspicious death of alleged intelligence asset Robert Maxwell. That's Ghislaine Maxwell's father, who Epstein stated was killed for threatening the Mossad. And Maxwell was a business person in the United Kingdom who was involved in all of this fraud. And he allegedly died when he was on his yacht that was named the Ghislaine, when he was urinating, is the story, off the ledge of the boat, and then he fell over and he drowned. Okay, here is what Epstein says went down. This is in an email, March 15, 2018. He was passed away. Robert Maxwell threatened Mossad. And of course, the Mossad is Israel's intelligence agency. And here's what Epstein says happened. He said, H told them that unless they gave him 400 million pounds to save his crumbling empire, he would expose all he had done for them, the Mossad. In that time, he had free access to Margaret Thatcher's Downing Street, Ronald Reagan's White House, to the Kremlin, and to the corridors of power throughout Europe. Maxwell passed on all the secrets he learned to Mossad in Tel Aviv. In turn, they tolerated his excesses, vanities, and insatiable appetite for luxurious lifestyle and women. He told his controllers who they should target and how they should do it. He appointed himself as Israel's unofficial ambassador to the Soviet bloc. And that's what Epstein's knowledge was of Ghislaine's father and the connections with the Soviet Union there as well. Then there is this report from the FBI where an FBI informant called Epstein the manager of Putin's wealth. Here's what the FBI report says. On November 27, 2017, Special Agent, this is redacted, and Special Agent met with a confidential human source with whom the FBI has recently established a relationship. The CHS reported the following. Jeffrey Epstein had a compound in New Mexico where he lured and recorded underage women. He also had a private island. Epstein was President Vladimir Putin's wealth manager and provided the same service for Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe. Epstein had some connection to, then it goes on to say, the MIT lab, described there as a confidential source of the FBI as being Putin's money manager. On March 18, 2014, the day that Vladimir Putin announced Russia's annexation of Crimea, Jeffrey Epstein emailed the French banker Ariane de Rothschild to say, Ukraine upheaval should provide many opportunities, many. And as you can see, he was described as Putin's money manager. He was discussing meeting with Putin in 2011. He was then talking about there will be many opportunities as a result of the annexation of Crimea. But let's keep on reading right here. There was then a meeting on June 24th, 2018, between Epstein, there's an email right here, with other very key people describing a meeting. And the emails between Jeffrey Epstein and Jagland Thorban. Now, who is Jagland Thorban, or Thorban Jagland, is the former Norwegian Prime Minister. He was also the Secretary General of the Council of Europe from 2009 to 2019. He's also was the Foreign Affairs Minister from Norway as well. So someone with a pretty big portfolio. And these were the types of people that Epstein was speaking with. Former prime ministers, former world leaders at the time. And here's what it says. Epstein says, I think you might suggest to Putin that Lavrov can get insight talking with me. Vitaly Charkin used to, but he died? ? Now, what is Epstein talking about here? So he's speaking with the former Prime Minister of Norway, who meets with Putin, and he's suggesting that Putin and that Lavrov can come and talk with me. Lavrov, as you probably know, is Putin's top advisor. He's the foreign minister of Russia. He was the guy who wore the USSR shirt when he met with Donald Trump in August, and he was invited by Trump into the White House right away. The first state visit, people forget this, to the first Trump administration White House back in 2017 was Sergei Lavrov and Sergei Kislyak. And remember, Donald Trump gave them classified information that was uncovered. And Trump's like, well, when you're the president, you get to give people classified information. And then you have Thorban Jagland says, I'll meet Lavrov's assistant on Monday. I'll suggest this. Thank you for a lovely evening. I'll communicate to UN high level week. Churkin was great. He understood Trump after our conversation. It's not complex. He must be seen to get something. It's that simple.
You know what's easier than fixing a problem? Not having the problem in the first place. Your liver is one of those organs that you don't think about until you have to. Supporting it daily is one of those small things that can make a huge difference in how you feel overall, and that's where Dose comes in. Dose for your liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement. This isn't just another capsule or powder. Dose is a liquid supplement. It's taken in a daily 2-ounce shot, and it tastes like fresh squeezed orange juice. Here's why it matters. Your liver is your body's filter. It processes everything you consume and handles over 500 plus daily functions. Energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, vitamin storage. When your liver is overworked, you feel it. Dose helps cleanse the liver of unwanted stressors that may be slowing your liver down, and it promotes daily liver function so that your liver can do its job. 0 sugar, 0 junk, 0 calories. And when you take Dose daily, you're going to reduce sluggishness, get rid of those midday crashes, support your metabolism, and even aid your daily digestion. Plus, this is the real deal. There are 2 double-blind placebo-controlled studies showing Dose's positive impact on liver enzyme levels. Are you ready to give your liver the support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.co/Meidas or enter Meidas to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you. Let's do something for it. That's dosedaily.co/Meidas, MEIDAS, for 35% off your first month subscription.
Now, Vitaly Churkin was somebody who died of a mysterious heart attack in New York in 2017, and many people believe that he was poisoned and he was killed that way. So that's part of the connections. And there was a time where lots of people were dying by Russian diplomats with mysterious heart attacks who it seemed that Putin was poisoning them. You also have emails of Epstein saying that he wants to help Putin reinvent the financial system. Again, this is an email from Thorben Jogland, or an email to Thorben Jogland from Jeffrey Epstein, dated May 14, 2013. Okay, you can explain that he had investors to Sochi last year, and this year again, it is planned for St. Petersburg on June 20th. It does not work. It's not the right structure or big enough ideas. He is in a unique position to do something grand, like Sputnik did for the space race. You can tell him that you and I are close and that I advise Gates. This is confidential. I would be happy to meet him, but for a minimum of 2 to 3 hours, not shorter. Then there were meetings on October 7th, 2016, that took place right over here. Epstein's assistant puts his girlfriend, Karina Shuliak, in charge of an important lunch between Epstein, Peter Thiel, and Vitaly Churkin, the former Russian ambassador and close confidant of Putin, who would die mysteriously in New York a year later. Thiel had recently bucked all of Silicon Valley by endorsing Trump at the RNC in a headline speech. One day later, Epstein emails Thiel a link to John Podesta's hacked emails on WikiLeaks. Podesta was Clinton's top advisor. And then there appears to be an email that led to the Churkin-Thiel-Epstein lunch being scheduled, which isn't as relevant as the way Epstein pitches meeting Churkin to Thiel. Russian ambassador, most involved, he and Sergei Lavrov control. What was that meeting about? What happened there? But we know that shortly thereafter, Russia hacks the DNC, the emails go on WikiLeaks. Donald Trump previously called on those emails to be released. That's what we know happens. Then you have Epstein to Peter Thiel on June 26, 2016, saying, Brexit, just the beginning. Again, Brexit. In the UK, pulled the UK out of the European Union, saying just the beginning right there. And that was June 26, 2016. That was actually before the election of Donald Trump in the first administration. There's other references to Putin wanting to meet Epstein in 2013. Epstein's writing to Ehud Barak, Putin asked that I meet with him in St. Petersburg, the same time as his economic conference. I told him no if he wants to meet. We talked about that one before. So here is a correspondent of Epstein's advising him in 2014 to read up on Alexander Dugin, Putin's advisor, suggesting that it might be interesting and perhaps quite useful. So it's from Epstein to somebody, and here's what it says. This is what someone wrote to him. I just came back to the island. I had such an amazing day. Crazy. Skydiving, scuba diving, and skyride with the girls. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wish you were here and this great day could be shared with you. How was your meeting? Are you okay there? Lots of hugs. P.S. I researched some movies we can watch when you are back. Have you ever heard of Alexander Dugin, one of Putin's advisors? If not, reading about him and his views might be interesting and perhaps quite useful. As Peter Jukes writes, Bannon wasn't just being advised and enabled by Epstein, he was also working, it appears, as a strategic advisor, either formally or informally, for Ehud Barak, who had direct meetings with Putin. So here's what it's saying right here. And these messages, let's just go and take a look at them. We are set for Nome on Saturday. Have you told him that we are preparing for Nope? He would be on board, correct? Or should I ask? Easy for me. Ask and yes, I could, of course. I'm dealing with Ehud in Israel, making me crazy. Ehud massive. Can we announce I'm his strategic advisor? This will be a long campaign. Elections in September 17th. Lots of talk about it. This is a brilliant move. Then you have May 15, 2013. Epstein's Google Calendar says, prepare Putin paper at the time when he said he was meeting with Putin. There's this email from Epstein to Joy Ito, a rich Japanese business person. Reid Hoffman is CC'd. It says, hey, Jeffrey, I wasn't able to convince Reid to change his schedule to go meet Putin with you. This email is July 20th of 2014, signed Joy. Another message from Thorbjørn Jagland right here saying, been busy the whole day, just finished meeting with President Abbas to Putin in December. Discuss further details with Lavrov tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm busy tonight. And Epstein wrote to him before that, when are you going to see Putin? Are you free tonight for an hour or so around 8 to see Tom Pritzker? Then there are messages between Sultan bin Sulayem and Jeffrey Epstein, with the subject being Putin. And Sultan bin Sulayem is one of the richest people in the United Arab Emirates who had close connections with Putin. And again, these are these aren't just random musings of Epstein bragging to random people about Putin. He's speaking with world leaders, like the richest person in the UAE, the former prime minister of Israel, the former prime minister of Norway. That's who he's talking about having these meetings about. They were also discussing these potential meetings with Putin, but then Russia had the terrorist attack on the airplane, and the world was outraged. And Epstein is saying that it's not a good idea to meet with Putin right now because of the plane crash that took place right there. I mean, you go through more of these messages right over here. January 13, 2019, from Nicholas Rybus to Jeffrey Epstein. It's Russia and money Putin is using. Here's another message right here. This is January 19th, 2014. From Thorbjørn Jagland to Epstein. Hi, Jeffrey. I'm in Davos next week. Why don't you come? Terje's also coming. I'm going to Sochi and meet with Putin. We should start planning Easter. Are you still prepared to receive us? And then Epstein goes, you can explain to Putin that there should be a sophisticated Russian version of Bitcoin. It would be the most advanced financial instrument available on a global basis. By the way, they're talking about this in Bitcoin in 2014, I might add. You have Jeffrey Epstein asking in October of 2010, did you have Putin on your boat? Epstein to Thorbjørn Jagland. I still would like to meet Putin and talk economy. I really appreciate your assistance. July 30th of 2015. October 17, 2017. Talk to Putin, read digital currencies. The future. June 19th, 2018, June 17th, 2018, from Thorbjørn Jagland to Epstein. Hi, Jeffrey. Terj invited me to come to you in Paris. Can you confirm it? It's the same procedure as last time that I can stay with you. Promise to make nice or Runyu, coming directly from Moscow, meeting with Putin, Lavrov, and Medvedev. Yes, of course, Steve canceled a trip to Europe. I mean, they're talking about Putin meetings at the highest level right here. Let's go look at a few more, shall we? You have Peter Mandelson, who was the former UK ambassador to the United States. He's since been fired because he's all over the Epstein files. He and Epstein are saying the following. This is from Epstein to Lord Peter Mandelson. Can we put together for you the equivalent of a Putin-Medvedev deal? Choose someone who will be seen by your stand-in, run as a team, and the voters would be voting for you. There's also messages about interfering with other countries' elections like this. Epstein's writing about Bolsonaro giving Steve a big boost. I love to meet Lavrov with you. I love Lavrov. Remind Steve about the invitation to come to Slovakia and meet Fico. And I'm reminding about some of you plus Montenegro. Both he and I will come to Europe for November elections. And what they're talking about during this time period in 2018, Bolsonaro, who is the eventual insurrectionist, but he's the right-wing kind of MAGA guy in Brazil, putting Bolsonaro in power. They're talking about the Prime Minister of Slovakia, and we know through the messages that the Prime Minister of Slovakia's top foreign ministers were in touch with Epstein all of the time. And again, they're talking about manipulating elections. They're talking about high-level meetings with Putin all at the same time. This is August 29th, 2016. Again, this is all before the November 2016 election. I need to attend a meeting with Putin in Vladivostok. Epstein to Sultan bin Salim right there. And so you have all this activity taking place, at the same time. I could keep going, but I think you get the point. So then Trump comes into office, the first administration. The first people who show up at the White House are Lavrov and Kislyak. And so Donald Trump's out there saying, oh, Russia, 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 Russia hoax. And then, of course, while all of these messages are happening right here, you have Epstein involved in all of these communications with Steve Bannon, with Elon Musk, with others who are now in the Trump administration. He has intimate familiarity, Epstein, with what's happening in the Trump administration. And so I'll let you form your own opinions about what went down leading up to the 26th election, what happened thereafter, Epstein's knowledge of what Putin may have known about the 2016 elections. But I mean, it's pretty clear. I'm just sticking with the emails and you form your own opinions, okay? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thanks for watching.
New Midas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.